So I want a big round of applause for Gavin, who will be talking all about his spicy life. Thank you, Gavin.
Thanks very much. Thank you. All right. Right, is this how I hold the microphone? Yeah, okay. I think my life is spicy. I think maybe it seems spicy from the outside than it did from the inside. So I guess before I start here today, I just wanted to kind of say that I think there was mentions that like there's inspirational stories and stuff like that, and I have to be clear that I never feel that inspirational. I think I spend most of my life feeling quite like a failure rather than a success, and I think most people look at that and think that I am succeeding, but I want to be clear, I am not. I'm just getting by day to day. But what I am a big believer in is in people. And kind of like, I think that everything that good that has happened in my life has been because of the people and in it. And that's one of the things that I was encouraged. Normally when I stand up here and take a microphone, I say something along the lines of, hi, my name is Gavin and I'm an alcoholic. So I've got a few bits and pieces that follow with that. And yeah, there's definitely been a bit of a spice from like my journey through kitchens into recovery and to where I am now. So, you know, I kind of started out my career when I was like 15. I never really did very, very well in school. Am I getting this? Should I better off without the microphone or is it better with it? No microphone or with microphone? With, okay, there we go. This is exactly how I was hoping this would go. Not embarrassing at all. Okay, so I started off like in my journey into kitchens when I was 15. I did very, very, very poorly in school. I'm dyslexic and I was called stupid quite a lot, which didn't really encourage me to stay in school. So I went on to start working in kitchens and working in five-star hotels. And I became very, very, very passionate about cooking, about working in fine dining restaurants and Michelin star restaurants. And I think I've always thought of myself as quite a strong character, but I learned throughout the years that I'm actually quite weak and I'm quite easily led. So when I got into these crazy environments of punching and kicking and shouting and screaming and putting people down, as much as the abuse I took in it, I very much grew into that frame of mind and personality as well, which is something I'm not proud of now, but it took me a long time to kind of figure that out. So I kind of like started in the kitchens when I was 15, worked my way through Michelin star restaurants and hotels, a very aggressive kind of environment. I've been burnt by a chef because I didn't have enough burns to work in his kitchen. Got my ribs broken by another chef for hitting one of his chefs, which seemed like fair retaliation. I've been hit in the back of the head with a piece of frozen cod, which hurts way more than you would think it would. And I've had hot frying pans thrown at me. And you would think going through all of that I might grow up and not inflict that kind of pain back on my people, but I really didn't. And I think the one thing that kitchens have is people that are very, very, very passionate about food and about cooking, and for some reason they are willing to work really long hours under very abusive circumstances for that, and I fell right into that. But cooking was something that I was always just very, very, very passionate about. I absolutely loved it, and beneath all of that chaos, or above all of that chaos, I just loved putting out really good food and getting the adoration for it. And throughout all of that madness, somehow a team comes together. And there is something very beautiful about that. People that will literally follow you into the fires every single night. And as shit as it is, and as abusive as it is, and as tough it is, at the end of the night, they will all sit around and have a pint and rejoice in what a great service we had. Which is kind of funny because we're just putting food on plates, not saving anybody's lives. But it looks like we're really doing the trenches out there sometimes. Throughout that journey, I kind of drank, partied, and gained a hell of a lot of weight. And I kind of had to start taking stock of my life. I reached 145 kilos, so I'm like 92 now, to put that in perspective. That's kind of like half of me again, without any muscle on it. And I went down this incredibly difficult journey of weight loss, like I think most people do when they try to start a weight loss journey, which is buy the trainers on a Sunday, quit by Friday. Go to the gym, see no results, quit again. And at the same time, I had started to go down a very dangerous path with my drinking and my alcoholism. And I was basically drinking pretty much every night, socializing, which was contributing to my weight gain. And through that, I kind of tried to start to manage my alcohol consumption through through my exercise and stuff like this. And at the same time, I was rolling through Michelin star kitchens in London and Dublin, and eventually ended up in a five-star hotel in Ireland where we had worked towards getting the Michelin star there as well. So it was all a bit of a crazy roller coaster madness for a long, long time. And throughout this whole process, things kind of kept happening to me, which were quite severe. And it always seemed to me like karma was coming back to get me for being such an asshole all the time. Like I wasn't necessarily getting in troubles for the things that I'd done, but it always felt like, you know, you kind of deserve this. You know, you're kind of bringing this onto yourself. So I was on this very long, arduous journey. And in the end, we had the 2008 recession and in Ireland, and I'd opened a restaurant at that stage, and that had failed. So I skipped Ireland and I went to Dubai, hoping that I could kind of finally get everything a little bit more under control. But the good thing about going to another country is that all your troubles come with you, because you're just, there you are, right where you are. The only thing that was really causing me shit was me, and I just kept going everywhere I went, so it wasn't really helping. So I kind of started this new journey again in Dubai, and then I went to Abu Dhabi. And one night, I was kind of moved myself into the rooms of AA, and this is one of the reasons why I feel like I should be doing these talks, is because we kind of share in that if you've got a story, it can inspire, it can help. And this was really, I think throughout my whole life, I'd always known that anything good that had happened to me had been from good people around me. And I'd always had that belief, but I think with the chaos that I had in my life of working in the kitchens, sometimes that foundation and that belief got lost in me. Like I remember when I had my restaurant in Ireland, there was a notice on the radio saying that a restaurant in London had opened up and they were asking customers to pay whatever they thought the food was worth. And all the people in Ireland were ringing in saying, this is crazy, you could never do that in Ireland, it would never work. And I remember thinking to myself, that's not the way Ireland is like. People aren't like that. People are good at nature. They don't go in to rip people off. So I phoned in and I said, like, this is bullshit. This is not the way people are in Ireland. And they said, well, would you do it in your restaurant? And I said, I sure would. So if you Google it now, you'll find Gavin Gleeson, pay what it's worth. And we had our record-breaking months with it. So I've always fundamentally believed that people were good. And even though I was finding it hard to be that good person myself. And I went to the rooms of AA and I was kind of going in and out, and I was looking at all these people and they were kind of losers, you know? They were like losing their jobs and they were like losing their houses and losing their wives. And, you know, besides the 2 bottles of whiskey a day, I kind of had my shit together, you know? You know, I was the executive chef in the Monte Carlo Beach Club. I was doing all right on the girlfriend scene, and you know, I didn't lose my license, and I had everything together. So I was kind of like, these people weren't really my kind of, I needed like higher class losers to kind of get me sober. So I was doing that for a couple of years, and then they talk about like a higher power. And one night I kind of started drinking, and I went to work, and I carried on drinking because I had a liquor cabinet in my office. And then I walked around the pool and I met a nice lady there, and I decided to leave with her. And I got into my car and I crashed my car into a lamppost right outside my job. And then the police came along and they weren't happy with that at all, funnily enough. And so in about 5 minutes, I went to prison. I crashed my car, I lost my license, I lost my job, I lost my apartment, I lost my girlfriend. And I figured I was right there on that level with everybody else right then. I think they were looking at me like I was the loser after that. And that's kind of like, that was one of the biggest kind of like spicy events for me. So that was kind of like my rock bottom for me. And from there, I kind of went into the rooms of AA, and I started to, and this is where, you know, my faith in people, and, you know, for 90 days, every single day, I would ring 4 or 5 people inside of that room who would talk to me, who would take time to give me time. They would meet with me. And, you know, I was in a bad way. After going to prison for a couple of months, I figured I should have one more drink, which only lasted 9 days, 15 bottles of whiskey. And I stank by the end of it. Like, the smell off me was awful. So this is the worst thing I always remember for these poor people when they meet me. I just stank. But every single person, there was like 40 or 50 people, and every single one of them held my hand, nurtured me. I couldn't talk without crying because I was so badly beat up. Like my body ached from the drinking. I had lost everything. And from that kind of point, I just really had to rebuild myself. And I decided to quit cooking because I realized after doing my 12 steps that a lot of my personality and my ego and all that kind of stuff, and it's one of the reasons why I try not to do these things too often, because my ego gets to tell me I'm great, I'm fucking awesome, look at me up here, people listen to me. I really have to bring it back. And so I did my steps, and I realized that actually I thought I was this horrible, horrible, horrible person that deserved everything he got, and I just realized that I was just an asshole that was scared of everything. And it kind of helped me through a lot. And I decided that I would move away from the kitchens because that's where so much of me was attached. And I was doing like 2 meetings a day with the help of all of these wonderful people. And then I went on this date and I met this woman. And I walked down the street with her and I said, I made some shitty remark about somebody because that's what I do. I'm just an asshole. I can't help it, just in there. And she was like, you can't talk about people like that. And I thought to myself, how does this person know not to be an asshole and I have to go to a meeting twice a day to figure it out? And it kind of blew my mind. And I thought 6 weeks later I'd ask that person to marry me, and thankfully she did. And we've been married since for I think 8 years, not so long ago, like this April. And through that, I think I just had a total shift in everything I do, which is I kind of turned my life over now to trying to be of service and trying to help people. And my whole issue before that was everything was about me. It was all about the car, the job, the money. If I was talking to you, it was literally to see what I could get off you. Was that a job opportunity? Was it money? Was it friendship? Was it sex? Was it something? It was what was in it for me. And I really needed to kind of like turn that whole thing around. And the weird thing is, since doing that, my life has just become full with abundance, nonstop. I opened a boot camp here in the park in Hong Kong, and I remember one of the first days doing that. It was a beautiful sunny day in Hong Kong, and I remember looking around thinking to myself, if somebody had told me 5 years ago, like when I was so in love with cooking and passionate, that I would be standing in a park telling people to throw balls around, that I would never in a million years have believed it. And I just had so much happiness in that moment. And through that, through helping these people and through going through these rooms and now being a part of SMART and just connecting with people on a level of just trying to help, my life has just become so abundant. You know, we moved to Hong Kong, we always had somewhere to go, we always had people to go. And now from there, we've opened this amazing gym through one of my clients. The support I had through COVID, which nearly broke me, was just phenomenal from the people around me. And one of my clients said to me not so long ago, would you like to open a gym? I've got a little bit of money lying around. So I thought we were going to open something small. And we've got this big fuck off thing that I just never imagined someone like me would ever have. 95% of the time when I'm there, I forget that I own it and I think I just work there because it doesn't seem like somebody like me could have something so good. And, you know, this is just, for me, it's just, again, being out there and just trying to do good things and trying to change the way that I look at my life and the way I interact with people. And it just keeps coming back tenfold to me now. And I think that's really my story, to be honest. I don't know if it's an inspiration or anything like that, but I like to kind of just share it out there because what I've seen in the years that I have, I'm one of the people that's very open about my drinking, that quite often people become very open to me with it, and then quite often we can sit down and I have the luxury and I have the luck to be able to help other people through their troubles. So I know it was spicy enough. I definitely probably would have come to see the sex therapist if I was you guys. I'm really surprised to hear that. I don't know why anyone's here today. But I'll be back for that. And yeah, thanks for listening.
Good stuff. Thank you, Gavin. I noticed that the number of Americans is very low in the audience today because you said I got married and no one gave a fuck.
Yeah. It's not that interesting. I get it.
But there is some time for questions. Does anyone have a question about anything?
So I have heard that AA, well, AA has existed for quite a long time, and it's a very tight-knit network globally, and you read like 12 steps, right? So I think the framework is quite famous, and I was wondering whether you have anything from this AA framework that translates to your life now and that can apply to all of us. So maybe like top 2 or 3 things that really helped you from that.
God, yeah, like so much. I think so. Yeah, so the AA 12 steps, yes, it's been around for about 100 years, and I think all of this kind of like really relates to my life, and I think it could relate to everybody's. It's really just about self-searching. I think it's really just like I said for me. I kind of went in there with this kind of concept of who I should be in my life, that I wanted to be. I thought that the only way, I was 145 kilos as well. Well, like the honest truth of it is, like when I was 23, I remember looking in the mirror and crying because I thought that I was so overweight that nobody would ever love me. And for me, I started to attach, when I became a chef, it was becoming really popular at the time and people loved chefs. It was great. So that was where I was like, well, this is where I'm getting recognized. So I kind of went with that. And I think for me, going to AA was just about really understanding who I am, what values were in life. I think anyone can benefit from it, but I don't think most people need to, and that's the difference. And I think for me, it just kind of taught me how to live a better life, how to be a better person. And I think, again, I feel like, I mean, even my parents, I think everybody, we're all looking for money, success, and all that kind of stuff. But actually, I've had more happiness from people than anything else as of late. And I just didn't know that. I didn't know that that's where happiness was. And that's what it taught me. Don't know if that answers your question.
Tell us more about your gym and where it is, how you set it up. I'm sure there's plenty of us who love to manage. Is it?
Yeah, cool. Well, you'd all be invited. We do free coffee there as well, and that seems to be what draws you people in. And I'll be there as well. And maybe we should try hire a sex therapist. That sounds good. So basically, we've set up the gym called Coach and Cook, which is a really weird name, I know that. But the idea is, for me, I was kind of like exercising pretty much every day for 2 hours. And there was a lot of talk, this buzzword at the time. This is like everyone on Instagram on their phone every 4 seconds. Like I used to write shit down then. And it was like meal plans was the big thing, like eating food. And I kind of looked in the mirror one day and I was like, I'm doing 2 hours of exercise every day and this doesn't reflect the work that I put in. So I decided to look at the food side of it. And the reality is, for most people, they kind of go in with this steamroller approach that I'll train 5 times a week and I'll cut out food groups and I'll do this and I'll do that. And we just find that when people ask me, how do I get here? It's like consistency. So we just try to help people to incorporate small habits. We're the only gym in the world that I know that give a money back guarantee. So the idea is, if you come to us, we do accountability for you. We do your measurements, we track it. We make sure you come in. We're a very community center. And I know a lot of gyms say that, but we actually do really focus on that. It's very non-intimidating. We try to overcome most of the roadblocks that people have, which is getting them highly motivated by big results in the first few weeks, which is getting them to focus on a balanced diet, which is getting them to do 10,000 steps. And our goal is, we sell transformations, but we lie to people. We find that's the best way to get results. They think they're coming in to transform their bodies, but we're looking for a lifestyle transformation. We don't make a perfect body in 6 weeks, but if we can get somebody to enjoy working out, get committed to it, understand this boring, simple stuff is how you get there, then we know over a lifetime if you can stick to it. And it's literally just everything that I do on a daily basis. Like, I don't have the most ripped physique in the world, I'm aware of that, but I'm happy. I eat what I want to eat. I get my 10,000 steps in, and I haven't tried to kill anybody in a long, long time. Respectively speaking.
So what with all the weekend warriors out there?
The vegan warriors?
No, weekend warriors.
Oh, the weekend warriors.
Yeah.
Like, you're vegans? I'm glad you asked. The weekend warriors, what do you mean?
So I can imagine it's hard to change your lifestyle to begin with. And then you have people that are working insane hours, like the lawyers among us and many others. We have long as days,
Yeah.
and the only time we really have for ourselves are the weekend, in which we party hard, we play hard, and we also work out hard. How could you support them in their lifestyle change?
So what I would do is we kind of sit down and we measure it. Like, what are you actually looking to achieve? So for example, if we get brides that are coming in, fucking love working with brides. Like, nobody will follow a plan for you like a woman trying to get into a wedding dress. Fucking, like, they'll kill people for you. But then for most people, that's not what they want. So it's about gradual change, and it's about understanding. I mean, health and fitness is one of the strangest things in the world. And like you were asking about how things would relate to my life, I think one of the reasons that I've become such a good coach is because of the fact I've overcome so many hard shit. And it's that expectation that, like I said, Sunday morning, I'm going to buy a pair of trainers, I'm going to have a six-pack in 12 months' time. But health and fitness is very similar to pretty much anything in our lives, and we don't kind of get that. If you've got to start a job on a Monday, you wouldn't expect to be an expert by Friday. You would probably fail quite a few times. You know, you would start and stop. And it would take time to find the things that you enjoy. So it's really about, you know, we kind of like use this word which is called life hacking, which is figuring out what works and doesn't work for you. Most people can just find a few things that are really screwing them up. And just if they were to focus on pulling those back, I mean, I think the best example I can give to you is a very good friend of mine and a client said to me, well, you wouldn't expect anyone to do what you do in a day. And I went, well, no, but that's not where I started. You know, I started by going to the gym a couple of times a week. I started to move to 5, then I moved to my food, then I moved to meditation, then I moved to 10,000 steps. And you just kind of like, as you get used to it, you just add more onto it. And that's what I say about a lifestyle change. It's not trying to get it all done by 1 week. It's about slowly adding things in and finding things that you enjoy. I was just saying to another lovely lady over here a few minutes ago, people say, oh, what's the best exercise for weight loss? And it's like, it's the one you enjoy. It's the one that you will do for the rest of your life. You could do CrossFit for the next 6 months and it'll burn more calories than Pilates, but if you'll do Pilates for the rest of your life, that's the exercise. And that's what people, when we start focusing just on the results versus what we like doing and how we can fit it in, that's where we can find the barrier and you'll just make it easier for yourself.
Yeah, changing it one habit at a time, starting with fun things.
Yeah, and if you fail, don't worry about it. It's pretty much guaranteed.
Yeah. By the way, I appreciate when you said six-pack and you pointed at me. I take the compliment.
It was the light. I can't see anything.
We got some more time. We have about 5 more minutes, so there's time for another question right here.
I do. So I never ever dreamed that I would ever find something that I loved as much as cooking. And that's why I love doing personal training. And I can't believe, I get very emotional when I talk. I've done very well not to cry today. So I can't believe I've come back full circle to coach and cook. That's just like my dream come true. It's quite shitty. Like, I mean, I was sitting in Thailand with some friends and one of the ladies had been looking for a job for like 15 months. And I said, what would you do if you could do anything? And she was like, oh, I don't know. She goes, what would you do? And I was like, I'd open a high-class gym where we cook and food serve. And they're like, fuck you. So I'm very blessed to be doing that. I think what I loved most about cooking, I loved the team. I loved working in the kitchen. And I now have that in my new gym. So I love that. I realized that I'm quite self-centered and egotistical. So I love the people going, God, this tastes so good. You know, it's like, I can't get enough of that. So I love doing that for friends and family now. My wife can't cook, so she does all the washing up. So we've got a very good relationship there. But yes, I oversee all of the food for the coach and cook, and it's much more of a hobby thing now. And like I said, when I met my wife, one of the reasons why I left the kitchen was I didn't want to do the hours and the longs. I wanted to prioritize my life. So I do miss working in the kitchens a hell of a lot, but there's a lot of it I don't miss. But yeah, it's still definitely one of my biggest passions in life.
Two questions actually. So in terms of your North Star, when you fell out of practice and you fell out of consistency and motivation, how did you get back on track? And then the second question is, you talked a lot about your support network. What was it about that really kept you consistent and kept you?
My North Star when I fell out of consistency, God, I've done it so many times, like I fucked up so often. Like I think the only thing that I could say is inspirational about me is that I am very good at getting back up again because I've had a lot of kicks. That's my thing. And Like I think people look at me and they think I'm successful. I'm really not. Like we've got a big, beautiful gym, but I don't have any money or anything like that. Like, and it look from the outside, it looks like that. So I think just keep going. I've been always very good at that, and but I just think, for me, I think the biggest thing, and we were talking on the way over here, is I think I'll just do it on the days I don't want to do it. That's the thing for me. I think I've become consistent at that. I'll go to work on the days I don't want to. I'll work late nights the days I don't want to. I'll train the days I don't want to. I'll eat better the days I don't want to. And I think for me, that's probably where I'm lucky. And I think as much as there's been a lot of shit in my life, I wouldn't change one single day of it, because all of those things have brought me to where I am now. But I think repetition as well is just a big one. You know, people say, oh, how do you squat 180 kilos? You show up every day and you lift, you squat. That's it. Like, there's no secret. There's no magic button. There's no special technique. It's just keep fucking doing it. That's it. With regards to the support network, I think I will definitely cry talking about this now, but I think when strangers can show you so much love, and especially when you feel you don't deserve it, that changes everything for you. But I think as well, just like the way they acted, you know, like I would phone somebody. Like they said, they were like, come in and phone, always phone. And I would phone people, and they'd be like, hey, Gavin, thanks so much for calling. You really did me a favor there. And I was like, no, you're doing me the favor. But they never made me feel like it was, and I know now actually I was helping them, because that's what it is. But I think maybe when you live your life like I did, which is, if I'm talking to you, I'm after something, you probably start to think that everybody else is like that. And, you know, I often wonder about, I have so many amazing, wonderful people in my life and so much good stuff in my life. And I think I didn't see it when I was younger. I was 15 years old and I went to a kitchen in a 5-star hotel where an executive chef took me under his wing. When I quit because my parents were getting divorced, he told me no, because he knew it was the right thing for me to stay. But at the time, I just thought he was a wanker. And I couldn't see that. You know, I would thumb it to work every day and people would pick me up. Or, you know, people would look after me all the time. And like my career was always paved with good people, but I just think I didn't see it. And I think that network has always been there if we're just capable of seeing it, I think. And that was when I was a real asshole as well. So, you know, I think, I think it was just, that was kind of how the network looked. It just taught me that people are good. And like I said, I think I always knew it. I just didn't know how to recognize it, or at least say thank you for it.
Could you share a couple of tips on how do we start changing our lifestyle from a food perspective?
Change your lifestyle from a food perspective. What's your main thing that you want to change?
I want to be healthier. Tomorrow, what is the 1% change that if you look at?
Anybody that knows me and sees this video will be like, this fucking story again. I always give the same story to everybody. So I was working with a guy called Dave, and he was this South African guy, and he had a huge stomach. And when he started working with me, every 2 minutes I'd be getting text messages, voice messages, Gavin, can I have milk in my coffee? Gavin, can I put ketchup on my thing? And I was like, Dave, you drink 12 beers every night, and you eat an 800-gram steak. You don't have to worry about the 20 calories in your coffee. You don't have to worry about the 30 calories in the ketchup. Get rid of the beers and cut the steak down to 200 grams. And he got rid of the beers and he put the steak to 400 grams because he said no self-respecting South African would eat 200 grams of steak. So I said, fair enough, you can't win all the battles. But Dave lost like 8 kilos in that month. So I always kind of say, most people know what they're doing wrong. Like, you don't actually need me to tell you. The excuses and the lies you're telling yourself are your way of avoiding accepting responsibility. So when I look at most clients, it was the same for me. My portion sizes were just out of whack. Like, I knew you shouldn't eat fast food and I knew you shouldn't eat sweets and stuff. But I was eating like mashed potato with cream and butter and steak with foie gras. It was like 2,000 calories a meal. So once I reduced my portion size down, that was one of the biggest things for me. So you'll often see, you know, either snacking or, you know, high sugar drinks, or, you know, if you have a look at your daily intake and see what you think is causing you the biggest problem and focus on that. Because the mind doesn't focus very well on negative at all. So when we try to put 100 things into place, we're pretty much guaranteed to failure, and that's when we go, fuck it. But if we can focus on this one thing and just try to be better at it, then that will help. And then the only other thing that I would suggest is a really good thing of doing is reviewing the week. So we do a very simple thing where we're like, how is your nutrition on a scale of 1 to 10? Say 6. And where did you want it to be? 8. How could you make, what do you want it to be for next week? 7. How could you make it, bring it from a 6 to a 7 next week? And they would then generally pick out the things themselves and make those small changes. And if you implement it, you review it, because that's what happens. Most people don't wake up and be like, oh shit, there's an extra 200 grams. It's like, whoa, there's 12 kilos and nothing fits anymore. So if we monitor it quickly, we can keep on top of it, I think.
Is it really 80-20 diet to exercise?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I mean, so we kind of try and look at it as a much bigger holistic thing. So we try to have like 8 or 9 things in play, and the idea is that if one fails, that the rest are there. So I mean, a good example is life gets in the way. You know, I opened a gym and my priority became to open the gym, and I didn't have my old gym and my new gym wasn't built. I didn't exercise for about 3 months, but I didn't gain any weight because I had all the other measures in play. When we talk about the 80-20, one of the biggest problems, I'll have people come to me that are like 20 kilos overweight and they'll say, I just need to exercise, my diet's really good. And we're kind of going, the evidence is saying to the contrary. You know, if you're trying to exercise a bad diet, it's like being in the village and it's flooding and you're chucking water out with a bucket, when we could just build a dam across the river. So if 100% of what you consume contributes to your calories, but only 10 to 15% can go through exercise, if you control the calories, you control everything. So we always say exercise to look and feel better, and diet to reduce to drop body fat and stuff like that. So yeah, unfortunately it is.
Okay, we have one more question, and then we're going to continue.
It's a lot of one more.
Yeah.
Last one. Thank you so much for your speech. I just want to ask, there is a mainstream about intermittent fasting. What is your views on intermittent fasting? Are you positive on this or negative on this?
Yeah. Okay, so intermittent fasting definitely works, 100%, no doubt about it. I think that people get passionate about stuff and they create crazy ideas in their heads, that it's a magic pill or something like that, and it's not. Ultimately, the bottom line is it's always calorie reduction, simple as that for me. And we have tons of proof towards that. So we had low-fat diets 30 years ago. Now we have the keto diet, which is a high-fat diet. We have veganism, and now we've got the carnivore diet. Then we had eat 6 meals a day, and now we have eat 1 meal a day. So all of them worked as a diet. The only consistency between any single one of them was a calorie reduction. So if you're asking me, will somebody lose weight if they eat for 6 hours versus eating for 15 hours? I would probably imagine they would. But it's most likely to do with a calorie reduction. It's simple as that. I mean, I always kind of say, if it works for you, it works for you. And again, we never push a diet on anybody. It's really about finding what works for you. If you wake up and you're fucking hungry from the minute you wake up until you get to eat and all you think about is food, I probably wouldn't advise an intermittent fasting. You know, I would look on doing smaller meals and find something you enjoy. But I know loads of people that wake up and they love intermittent fasting and it works for them and go for it. But I feel like, you know, we just focus on a balanced diet, that's it. You know, I just always think when somebody comes to me that might be quite overweight, and this is again talking to somebody who was 145 kilos, and I'm like, right, I'm going to cut out a whole food group. My relationship food was not that bloody good to begin with. I couldn't struggle to put a packet of biscuits down. Now I'm going to cut out a whole food group. It just makes the task a bit monumental for me. I like to try and, like I said, find one thing that we can focus on, try and make those improvements. But yeah, absolutely. Does it work 100%? Is it because it's a magic pill and makes you see fairies? No, it's just another calorie restriction.
Ladies and gentlemen, big round of applause for Gavin Gleeson.
I'm getting stuck on the microphone.
As every month, we have a little gift for the speaker. Nick, our paper cutting artist, he went wild once again.
You have this image on your website, which is holding 2 dumbbells and you're wearing a chef's outfit. So I embellished it a little bit. I added a frying pan. And after hearing your story, it looks like you're about to chuck it at somebody.
One arm's going to get bigger than the other. Thank you very much. That's awesome. Cheers.